Right, so welcome to the team call. Um, uh, so, Nigel, I think you're going to start off, aren't you?
Am I?
Oh, I don't know. You told me you were. You just,
No, I just thought I'd throw you a curveball. That's fine. Uh, so let's look at where we've come through August and moving on into September. You all, for those of you who attended the team call on Tuesday with Dave and Kirsten, are really probably very clear about what's happening in September and the and what's available for us all effectively. And I hope you all understand what 200% ECB means, or rather, as it's now being described, ECBX. If there's anybody here who currently doesn't understand that, please put your hand up so we can cover it very quickly. But in essence, it triples your income. It's as simple as that. So instead of 150 points for an ultimate partner kit, it's 450. So these months traditionally leverage a lot of rank improvements, and because it's so much easier to get to a rank. So let's just take, for example, a brand new partner who comes on in the first week of September, who finds two partners of their own. We don't yet know, but my suspicion will be, we'll find out tomorrow, that anybody coming on with an ultimate partner kit next month will automatically receive 200% ECB. Although you can't quote me for that because I'm not certain yet. We'll know tomorrow. In which case, of course, one of the first goals is to find your four customers, four subscriptions, and your first two partners. So if the first two partners find their two partners, and that's part of the goal for them during that same month, then if you think about what the volume is, the first partner will be 450 for you. Anybody new you bring in during September, as long as you're qualified. Their first two partners will be another 900 points. And if they bring on two each, that's another 1,800 points. So it's 2,700 plus 450, 3,150 altogether for you for having to help that person achieve the first two elements of their fast start. And of course, that person themselves has received 900 points, and if it's done right, one on each side, for those first two partners that they've recruited. That will take them silver straight away. So in addition to the bonus for achieving the two partners, the rank bonus as well, the silver rank bonus. So you can see how you can build momentum through the month. That's why Kirsten was talking so passionately about making real use of this. And whilst it's being called a sprint, it's a sprint through the whole month. And as Kirsten illustrated, and we've always found, and we know from the statistics, Zinzino itself, the last 3 days of the month are about 40% of the business. So what you do in the first 90% of the month, ish, thereabouts, leads up to the last 3 days. And that's where the ranks happen. Because it's not a burst at the finish, although it becomes that. It's a consequence of the effort that's been placed in the first 27 days or thereabouts. So what we're trying to encourage you to do is to put the effort in now, because your preparation program and talking to enough people now will reflect in the activity towards the end of the month. Because I don't know about your experience, but mine's very simple. People generally speaking don't sign on the first presentation. It takes 2 or 3. You've got a little bit of follow-ups to be done. If you get them in your first week, you stand a really decent chance of getting yeses and nos at the end of the month. So the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because whatever your goals are for your September sprint, they're going to be mostly made or broken during the first week to 10 days. So this coming week is the foundational week for the whole of the rest of the month, and where you are likely to end up. So for those of you who've got a goal and have set a goal, a Zinzino goal, I mean, for the month of September. You need to know what needs to be done, how many you need to have and put into the system, and what points you need. Now, we always talk about this at the beginning of the month anyway, because the goal and action plan, which we'll inevitably encourage you all to do, does exactly the same thing in order to set the scene for your month. It's just that during September, it's 3 times as valuable. So it makes a lot of sense to put your effort in now for that period of time. So second thing to do, who is now using the daily tracker, the daily disciplines? Hands up. Can't hear you, Ruth. I'm seeing you mouthing at the screen.
I've still got to print it out.
Well, I guess it's there in your imagination then.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Okay. So should we go over it one more time, just so people understand what it is? Because from my point of view, it's a really useful thing to do. If you've got a copy of it there, Sue, to hand, I mean. Good. Could you share it, please? And then you can go through it. I know you're doing it. So am I. My copy's here somewhere, my handwritten copy. Although I was out at 5:15 this morning to pick Adam up from the airport, so I've done none of them yet. I've done 170 miles and 4 hours in the car, but I haven't done my daily disciplines. Got it?
Bear with me a second. I'm just loading it up. Oh, it's the wrong one. Hang on, I've just thought it was the right one. How's that gone? Oh my gosh.
There you are. I've got it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Hopeless.
Hopeless.
Yeah.
Now all I have to do, are you I can't share because you've disabled me.
Okay, I'll do that. Bear with me a second. Co-host. There you go.
Thank you. Daily disciplines, share. Okay. Here we are. Right. So, can you all see that?
Yep.
Do you want to go through it then?
Okay, so personal time. All right. So personal time here, as you can see, it's actually, you know, what you do on a daily basis and one of the things that we were talking about, in fact, last night we were saying about, you know, being grateful, having gratitude. So one of my key things to do is that personal time, give thanks, reflect, review what's been happening. What could I have done better yesterday? What could I improve today? But also kind of personally for me, there's a little bit of meditation there for me in the morning before I get up. And then it's gratitude. What am I grateful for? Another day. Grateful for another day, to be here on the planet another day. But it's having those things and making sure, and it's so easy. We were saying the other day, it is so easy to just kind of tick these willy-nilly and actually kind of go, yeah, I've done that, when in fact you haven't possibly done as much as you could have done. And then obviously it's reviewing your goals and your dreams. So that's whether it's the long term, short term, but your dreams. So have you read your affirmations about what you want to achieve, whether it's for the day or for the week? You need to be able to do that on a daily basis. You need to know why you're doing this. And planning your day. Now, planning your day actually quite often starts the night before. So it's something that you can go, okay, tomorrow I'm doing this, and this. I plan to do this. So for us, yesterday we went out to Chelmsford. We did some prospecting. We saw about, I think it was about 9 or 10 people in total. visited 10 establishments in total. So it was really just trying to plan that. And so that means, okay, where am I going? So I'm not wasting time. So that was like, I forgot to print off a map, so my fault. So I would mark where I was going to go so that I didn't go round and round and round in circles, which we did a little bit yesterday. But planning your day to get the best out of it. So that's the thing. Obviously, using the product. Do you use the products on a daily basis? I can't live without them personally, but very occasionally I forget to take something. And so this is just a little reminder. So again, just being in that habit of actually, taking my products, done that, tick it off. If you're now, I'm not a reader. I'm not a great reader. So reading 15 to 30 minutes from a book, from the book of the month, whether it's the book of the month or another personal development book that you find works for you, then this is a good time to be doing it. There's Audible, if you prefer to listen rather than read, which is probably better for me. But you can listen in the car, you can do all sorts of things. And obviously we've got access to GoCore. GoCore is an incredible, kind of app that we've got. I don't know how many hours. I mean, probably about 500-600 hours of trainings from not only doctors within the team, within the group rather, within Zinzino, from leaders in the bigger Zinzino team who have actually achieved things that we're aspiring to, but also leaders within the industry. So I think that also helps, the fact that you can actually access things in that respect and access trainings. We've at the convention this year, we've got David J.P. Phillips, who is awesome. This man is incredible, so quick. But what he talks about and how to improve what you do, and how, what's he say, improving how not to die by presentation or something. I can't remember the name of the title of his book, but those sort of things. So you can listen to those on GoCore. Attend as many of the team and Zinzino key events as possible. Now, we know that not everyone can attend every single one. And, sometimes, especially in the evening, I get absolutely zoned out because I've been up since early in the morning. Nigel's been up earlier than me. And we're done by 7-8 o'clock. We are done, and we need some downtime too. So you need to be able to put that into context, which one is going to be best for you to make sure that you get the most out of. I would say without a doubt, any of the team ones are my priority. Now, interestingly enough, we've got the team September sprint, which is a 30-day sprint. And there is also currently in One Mondo, which we are part of that team, there is a 90-day run. And, for those of you who were on the call the other day with Kirsten and Dave, sometimes people can't work to 90 days. 3 months sounds a huge amount of time. How can I do that? How can I work to that? And I am one of those category. I'd much rather do a small sprint and then break that down into weekly sprints, if you like, to ensure that I'm getting the most out of my month. And the more you do at the beginning, the less you have to do in the end of the month, which is good. Obviously, adding the names to your list is crucial. So whenever you meet someone, whenever you chat with someone, yes, let me have your name and number. And on my business, I haven't got one handy here, but on my business card, I've got where we met. I've only got my telephone number and Nigel's number, where we met, what's your email and what's your telephone number. So I can write those down, or they can write them down, so I can then contact them, in future date. And so you should have a constant, kind of addition to your pipeline effectively. And what Nigel's, okay. What's that, Nigel, you've just posted?
Death by PowerPoint.
Oh, Death by PowerPoint.
David JPP4, whatever his name is,
Yeah,
JP Phillips, whom we saw 3 years ago. I can't remember.
2 years ago.
He's got a very interesting spin on the way
Yeah.
you should do things. It's not so much a spin; it's actually much more about how you communicate more effectively. He's worth coming to convention just to see him. I can
Yeah.
tell you. And
He was my big takeaway last
he
when we were
was
there.
mine as well.
Yeah, really enjoyed it, and it really funny as well. So it's great. Obviously, those, you know, kind of adding those names to your list is crucial to make sure that we've always got someone to speak to. I've been, as I say, I've been going out and prospecting locally to where we are, and it's actually interestingly enough, I went to see 9, 7, or 8 or 9 salons on the and establishments on the first day in Great Dunmow, and I've got an appointment with one, and another one I'm in email communication. I had an email from her this morning, and see if we can do something as well. So, but she said really interested in the products. They're fantastic. Looks great. But so it's just, you know, working on that. Now the one who I'd really thought was a real yes, 100%. She said, financially, I can't afford that at the moment. So we've gone back with you can break this down into Klarna, if, you know, for 3 payments, as long as you qualify for it, or there are smaller packages available, you know, would you be able to? So I've gone back and waiting for her to come back to me. So hopefully she'll come back to me today. Making business calls. Obviously, if you're going to be calling people, you need to have that routine of calling, you know, a few people, 5 business calls a day. Now that could be to connect, to invite someone to a presentation, to invite someone to have a chat with you, have a coffee with you. All those things count. And how many times do you actually get to show the plan? Now, last week I showed the plan to 1 person, which is nowhere near enough. So it should be 15 times a month. So, you know, I'm at fault here, but that overview, we've got the 2-page, I haven't got my overview here in front of me. Oh, no, I haven't. It's downstairs in my briefcase. But the 2-pager that you can print off actually takes you through that very simply, very, very simply. And then it's just making sure you follow up, you know, be organized with following up, because that's the biggest failure of most people, is that they don't follow up. I've been at fault too, and I've been so peed off when someone's ended up in someone else's business, and I went, okay, my fault, mea culpa. And then obviously enrolling, you know, 1 new partner a month is always great. So for those of you who have done that this month, well done. I really appreciate, you know, the fact that you've done your job, if you like. I know that Paul Bursey's signed up Di, who can't be on the call because she's working today, as a partner, and that in itself gives a whole boost to the whole business and the whole, you know, kind of energy that's going on. So, you know, if you're able to do that consistently, then you're actually going to be doing it. So, but these daily disciplines are essential, and I don't think we put enough not credibility, just enough on there really to actually show how important it is. But it is. So print it off. I've got mine here ready for the start tomorrow. So that's all there ready for tomorrow. And then the second half of it as well is your activity. So if you can scroll down, Nigel. Thank you. So your activity. So you've got your prospect names. You put these down here so you can put those on the name, their phone number. Did you show the plan to them? What did you use? Did you use the 2-pager? Did you use a recorded one? Whatever you do. And if you're not confident in doing the presentation yourself, use a recorded one. But just, you know, kind of go through it with them. and say, was there anything that you needed any, answered any questions on? Getting any questions answered on. Follow-up date, make sure that you follow up, you have a book a follow-up date so that you are able to follow up on that date. If you don't follow up on that date, so you need to diarize it, you need to put it in your phone, wherever you're going to see that on a daily basis, or in a diary, entirely up to you. Three-way call. Did you do a three-way call with them? And that three-way calls, as you well know, are so powerful because it means that it's not about you or them, it's about the person that you're introducing. So whether that's Nigel, myself, Dave and Shan, Marco, could be anyone who I feel. So for instance, I'm talking to, I'm going back to talk to a Pilates studio shortly, and I'm going to ask Sam whether she'll do a three-way with me to show them the potential that they have as a Pilates studio. I think she'd be perfect, and the reason being is she's got a Pilates studio in Amsterdam. What that status is, if you get new partners, you need to put those in there, new customers. And, we know that, maybe it's the business isn't for people, right for people, but maybe they can become a customer as well, which is great. What did they select? Yeah, they're making sure there's subscriptions on there, monthly call date, all those things. So really very simple to do, but it keeps you on track. And keeping on track is really important in these next 4 weeks, because you are going to need to break that ad down into chunk size pieces. Nigel's, I think, is that enough? Do you want me to talk any more on there, Nigel?
You can talk as long as you like, but I'd like to pick up on a couple of points.
Yeah.
Excuse me. First of all, let's stop sharing because
okay.
Brings me back to the group. Who's got a goal for September, and are you sprinting?
It's kind of half.
Well, everybody is. Everybody's doing it's holding their hands up, which is a good thing. So you've got to be very clear about what that is, because the daily activity should be driving towards that. And it's the same about any goal setting at the end of the day. It's whether you've created the idea of what it is for you, what it means for you, why you're connected with it. Because remember, it's always about thought, then feeling, and the feeling comes from the feeling comes the action, because that's the bit that's driving you to do it. Because you can think about being a millionaire or every day, several times a day, but unless you're taking the act, you don't feel it. If you don't feel it, you're never going to make it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same in absolutely every walk of life. We can dream, but how do we turn that dream into reality? Well, you connect with it. It's the emotion and imagination that makes it happen. So first of all, you've got to imagine the way it's going to deliver, what it's going to deliver for you, and connect with the emotion of that delivery being done. By that, the actions become much simpler. So in terms of your goal for September, we just take a short-term one rather than a big goal. And we say, okay, well, I'm going to go silver or executive or whatever it is, diamond. For us, it's crown. We're running again for crown. We're still running. I'll tell you what, we've had a few exhausting moments on the side of the road, though. But having said that, it's, you've got to get up and go again, because that's one of the elements of what we do is no goal comes without pain.
It's been so close sometimes, and it's just not happened. And it's just
more painful when that happens, I can tell you.
Yeah.
So, nothing comes without a price. As Maxwell says in one of it's the law of sacrifice. Something has to give for you to get. You've got to give more than, you've got to give more, because if you're focusing on the things that don't matter to take you towards your goal, you've got to give up those things in some way or another. You've got to let them go in order to get to something else. So and that means change. So what I'm really driving at here is be very clear about what that goal is, and you have to accept it as you've got to accept it as if it's already happened in the now. I'm a crown. Actually, I'm a president, but I know I've got to go through crown first. We've got to go through crown first, because you can't get the president without it. So president's a consequence of going crown, potentially. And then the other steps just take care of themselves, because once you've got the daily disciplines right, the side effect of all of that is the delivery of the goals on an ongoing basis, because you're on a path that takes you towards it. Now, part of that is being very, very clear about what you're going to do in that 30 days in order to make silver, gold, crown, whatever it is, happen. So what is it that has to happen to get you to the goal you set or you want to set? So if it's let's take silver, because it's the building block, as we all know. I talk about it a lot. Silver is the building block of the entire plan. You build enough silvers, you end up as a president. You build enough silvers, you end up as a 9-star, 10-star president. That's all Orion's doing. Well, correction, he's building people to build silvers, actually. That's what he's doing. And that's what we're seeking to have in this group, is people conceiving that silver is the place to bring people onto. September is really easy to go silver. You bring one person on who brings on 2 people, they're a silver. That's one in your organization. And it's just that duplication process. So you take whatever goal it is, you evaluate it. So if you want to go diamond, it's 12,000 points. You need 8,000 one side, 4,000 the other as a minimum. And that represents, how many is it? 16 silvers, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Let's pull up my silver machine. I have to hand here somewhere. Here we are. Got it on the inside cover of my journal, my daily journal. So diamond is 16 silvers. So let's just break that down and paint a picture for a second. You could go from a brand new partner today, and if you bring into your organization 16 people, 16 silvers during September, then that would be, well, 1 silver, bring someone on, and you bring in their own 2, then that's a silver. That's one of the 16. And those 2 doing 2, that's another 2. That's 3 of the 16. Those 2 brought on, that's another 4. That's 7 of the 16. And the next level down takes you diamond. All because it's 450 points, not 150 or 300. So it's all driven by the numbers. So what activity do you have to undertake to bring on someone who becomes a silver? Now, if you're brand new and starting out, you've got all those fast start volumes to also bring into play. And you can make a lot of money in a very short period of time by being a brand new partner during September. Let's just paint another picture. You bring someone brand new on, as I said earlier, they're likely to have 200% ECB because everybody else has, simply by joining during September. They bring their two partners on, forget customers for a second. 2 partners on, that's 450 each if they're on ultimates. There's 900, gone silver. Could do it in a day. In fact, Sue, and I have to credit Sue here because she did it, I didn't. She brought on the first 2 partners within 48 hours of joining on ultimates. And unfortunately, it wasn't a 200% ECB month. Otherwise, we'd have gone silver then. But actually, in those days, we had fast silver. And let's not go there because it's now changed. So what I'm saying here is be very clear about your goal and the steps you need to take in order to achieve it. The only limiting factors there are 2 things. One is time, and the other is your motivation. Because if you haven't got enough time to do enough work, then you clearly won't make it work with a goal that might be too big to achieve. If you have got enough time, know what time you need, in other words, and how you can apply it. And then it's just about connecting and using this daily discipline in order to track your progress. Now, something very interesting Kirsten mentioned on Tuesday, which struck me as a bit of a revelation, because I'd never done this analysis. He said 9% of people, about 9% of your contact list you have connected with. Just 9%. That's the average across the whole of the industry, if you like to call it that. Just 9% of people in your list. Now you could say that's down to all kinds of different factors. I guess it probably is. But so you dust off your old list and go back again, because there is gold in them there hills. And I'll repeat something I've said many times. Our in the network we were with for 20 years, he used to run a big double glazing company in London. And this was in the days when they published phone books. And they had a team of canvassers who would sit in the office during the evenings, during the week, and they all had a page out of the phone book, the white pages. These were phone numbers of residences. And he said, I know there are 2 leads on every single page in this book. So it's just a pure numbers game. You used to have to phone the whole thing. And here's the really odd thing about it. He said, you can go back to that page 6 months later and there are still 2 leads on it. So what I'm saying here is it's the achievement of the goal is a function of effort and desire. You know, you first of all got to be clear about the goal. The second thing is you've got to want it. And then you execute the work in order to make it come about. Because it's very easy not to do it. It's very easy to procrastinate and then try and do it all in the last week. Last week of this month's too late. It's the first week that matters. That's what I'm really driving at. So review your list and learn the lessons about follow-up is the other thing. There are the 2 things I want to mention and re-emphasize. One is learn the lessons about follow-up. It is always in the follow-up. I've told you the story about the guy that used to be in our upline in a previous network many years ago, who outright refused to listen to anything about the network I was pitching him on after we moved out of it because the company went broke. And then I bumped into him outside the bank. I was paying in a bonus check. And, you know, I just sort of let him have a look at it because it was a very significant amount. I think it was the first month or thereabouts that we passed $7,000 for the month. Now, this was 1990 something. Would have been about 96, maybe. $7,000 a month in 96 was a lot. It's a lot now, actually. So we passed the time of day and we parted our ways. And I said, drop in anytime you like. And he literally did that afternoon. And he said, I've got to know what you're doing. So now I didn't follow up. That was pure chance that in that instance, because but it was a very salutary lesson for me. Never, ever don't follow up. And there are great examples of it throughout. Well, certainly in Marco's case, he sponsored a woman not very long ago after 9 years of follow-up. What's her name? Not Casey, can't remember her name. Anyway, somebody he met many years ago.
She's a fitness guru out in Germany.
Yeah, Germany. That's right, German one. And of course, Dave's another example. 3 years. Every 6 months, Marco pick the phone up and give him a call. Hey, how you doing? Nothing to do with business. Don't mention the business, just catch up. Because if there's a spark of interest, they're going to ask. So always follow up. Hey, listen, just catching up. Thought I'd keep you posted as I promised. So never close the door either. So follow-up's important. And the last thing, or the next thing, the second of those 2 extra things was the 3-way call. It's the most powerful mechanism there is. Because it's not you on your own pitching someone you know or someone you've only just met. You're beginning to illustrate the scale of the potential by bringing a third party in who's unimpeachable. What I mean by that is they don't know who you are. So if I'm doing a call for Sue or for Ruth or for any of you, in fact, they don't really know who I am apart from what you say. And this is why it's so important to have the edification right, so that you big up the person who's coming on, because they've got no image of who I am at all, other than what they interpret when they see me on a Zoom call or listen to me on a phone call. So all they can judge is the information I give. They can't really judge what I'm saying anything other than that, because they've got nothing, no reference points. So use the power of the 3-way call in order to leverage the activity and the credibility of the business overall, because it makes a big difference. So that's what I wanted to add to in terms of all that. Anybody got anything they want to share with us or ask or clarify before I nip on into a very rapid explanation, or rather coverage of something we touched on last week, which is the traits of networkers. And that's a consequence of the things that Maxwell's been talking about. So anybody got anything they want to raise?
Well, that's good. You've obviously been quite thorough. But so for all of you who are sprinting in September, if you haven't already shared your goals with us, then please do. And who are your two accountability partners? You need two. Whether that's Nigel and myself, or Nigel and Dave, or whoever you choose, but you need to be accountable to those people. So that's really important. But you need to share what goal you have, because otherwise we can't help you get there. We can't help you get there. Anyway, so I crack on with what your main part. I think we're probably not going to have enough time to do the John Maxwell today, but
well, I wasn't planning to do a John Maxwell.
oh, okay, sorry, my apologies.
No, that's all right.
We do that next week then. Oh no, and remember next week is the team
huddle week,
and the only reason it's being moved from today is due to the fact that it's the last day of the month.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be, because it's always the first Saturday.
No, I'm going to say, but oh yeah, true.
It's not the first Saturday of September.
Okay.
Now you know why we're married. Actually, you probably don't realise why we're still married.
I love it.
Anyway, so now we've overcome that. Let me share my screen again. Hang on a second.
I think being able to laugh at yourself is a key thing for staying married.
Well, yeah, there's definitely that, but it's probably the art of compromise, which is the most important bit. Right. Can you see my fan-friendly lion on the... Because remember last week we talked about the traits of networkers. And Maxwell's really covering a lot of these things, especially when he talks about leadership. Because what he's saying is, you know, not everyone's good at all 21 laws. And that's clear from the way those laws work and the descriptions of them. And he talks about himself in the context of, you know, leadership, communication, and so on. Maybe 3 or 4 of them. And he engineers relationships with people in order to support the areas where he's weak. And that's the essence of, you know, build your strengths and manage your weaknesses, which is something I never really understood when I was going through, you know, management training originally. People said that to me. I would say, build on your strengths and manage your weaknesses. But the first thing you have to be aware of is, where are your weaknesses? As much as, where are my strengths? So the reason why it prompted me to cover this was pretty much that, was looking at what Maxwell was saying about himself and thinking, well, you know, when you look at the important bits of the traits you need, what's the essence of what we have in terms of building? And there are quite a lot of them, actually. There are 10 traits that people need to have, but we have them in varying degrees. And I'm going to cover them all, because, and I'll share the PowerPoint with everybody as well, because you're quite welcome to have that, because maybe it'll help you to look at the areas where perhaps you need to work a bit harder on the things you do or you don't do, and the areas where you are strong, that are a real strength, that you can support the team with. Because at the end of the day, teams are built of people who have different strengths and equally different weaknesses. You know, you can think of this in terms of a football team, for example. You know, there are people who are good at attack, and people who are good at defense, and people who are good at organizing in the middle, to be crude about it. And there's a guy who stands in front of sticks and tries to stop a ball passing him. And that's a skill in itself. It's an art and a skill, and not everyone has the same things. So I wanted to cover this in brief, because we haven't got a huge amount of time. So I won't be building on it in great detail. Hang on a minute, let me go back there. So the first thing, of course, is about relationship building. The essence of networking and the successful networking, direct selling. And perhaps we break this down into the real essence of what network marketing is. And it's actually direct selling. It's taking it out of a traditional distribution channel and moving it towards a direct channel. A personal referral model is the way I tend to describe it, because that's the way I see it. You know, it's tapping into the strength of, you recommend a good film to somebody, or some good music, or a good restaurant, you know, and equally, you're very quick to not recommend one that's not good, or you had a bad experience in. And of course, the two things also are both work. It works both ways. So when it comes to direct sales, It's the personal referral model that effectively works. And when it comes to the network side of things, it's the building of teams. So there's a bit of a, in a sense, there's a slight disconnect between the two different goals within an organizational structure like this. Because you can be in direct sales and rewarded for the direct sale. You know, a lot of agencies out there, for example, they sell products on behalf of a third party, they get a commission. They don't necessarily get the repeat commissions, and they're not rewarded for bringing on other people to do the same thing. So that model breaks down at the one level. So it's just a pure commission-based system. We get both. We get a commission on the product. You sell a product and you've got 25 subscriptions, you're picking up 25% on the cash bonus. 100, you pick up 30% on the cash bonus. So, sorry, you get 20, yeah, you know what I mean. You're getting your cash bonus. And equally, if you're bringing on partners, you're picking up a small percentage of what they do as well. That's where the strength of the network comes in. So you need people skills. And successful marketers are adept at forming genuine connections and building trust. We build trust in people. That's the essence of the list. Know, like, and trust. That's the essence of the power you have in that list of connections you already have. Is there's no relationship, not necessary, but there's less of a relationship that needs to be built in order to get to a point where there's the potential to effect a sale. That's why it's so important to use the warm market connections that we have. Second thing is empathy, and whatever you understand by that, essentially it's understanding each other and understanding their needs. More important than anything else, it's their need. So you're fitting what we have to their needs rather than ours. You know, we're not selling to someone; we're sharing it with them in a way within which they see what we have as providing a solution to their need. And it's that key to connecting on the deeper level, because then people move towards the idea of advocacy. You hear me talk about that in the steps of a customer: suspect, prospect, customer, client, advocate. We are advocates for Zinzino. You know, for most of it, it's probably, it's something that we can't envisage not being alongside and working with, because it doesn't make sense for us, because we're in tune with all of that. And of course, it's influence. Again, back to your warm list. You have influence over those people on your warm list. You don't necessarily have to be persuasive, but persuasion comes out of the right illustration of what's available and the benefits of it, and the ability to inspire and motivate others to join the network, especially in terms of what we do, or take action. Now, to be convincing, you have to be convinced. I got that phrase from John Canary, and I just think, it's so apt, because people's ability to work out whether you're coming from a place of confidence or not is subliminal. They pick it up if you're not. And when it doesn't chime with them, it's not going to go forward in any way. So first step is in relationship building. I've got quarter of an hour. Second thing, we're looking at communication. Now, this is the second one of Maxwell's, is he's saying, I'm a communicator. That's what I do. And of course, we all have to learn how to do that in a way that makes what we're saying and what we're putting across clear, and conveying the information and telling it in compelling stories. So Dave Ives talks about this all the time. Be a storyteller. Stories sell. Facts tell. So telling is not selling. Selling is illustrating it in terms of the way that it impacts on someone's personal life. So we talk about the consequences of taking what we do, and the stories of those that are taking balance oil, for example, not telling them that, you need to be in balance, and one-to-one balance is essential for good health and all that. Those are facts. It's how does that impact on them as an individual? And the other thing is, two of these, one of these, use them in accordance with how many you've got. So talk less, listen more. And the listening is an art, because it's not just a case of hearing them. You've actually got to listen to what they're saying. There is a difference. And the difference is understanding what they're actually driving at in terms of what they have, and then what they need, their desire, so that we can solve their issues. So from a business point of view, it might be money. It might be more time. It might be a legacy they want to leave. It might be freedom in terms of getting rid of the job they've got, more flexibility in their lives. It might be making more friends. There are all sorts of different reasons why people look at networking from a business perspective. And of course, ultimately, it boils down to this and public speaking. I think this is up there above death as a fear. People would rather die than stand in front of a group of people and talk. But this business demands it. It doesn't demand it. It's better if you can do it. That doesn't mean to say you have to do it, but if you can do it, then it'll stand you in good stead, because it's the art of communication. And JP Phillips, or whatever his name is, and I don't know why he's got that bit in the middle of it.
David JP Phillips.
Yes, him. He's fantastic at this. And actually, when I look back on it and I look at what we covered in that, and he says death by PowerPoint, actually, I think a lot of what we do causes people to feel close to it. In terms of there's too much fact-based stuff in the way we present the Zinzino business, and not enough storytelling and not enough dream building, especially from a business perspective. So maybe we have to revisit that. Hang on a second. I have to be on the right screen to change the slide. Second thing, leadership. Well, we know where we're going with this. I don't really need this slide too much, because we've been listening to John Maxwell for the last few weeks. And he talks a lot about the vision.
You want to watch as well?
What's that? Was that Thomas? You're open on your mic. Do you want to mute yourself or share something?
It was Warren. It's okay.
Oh, was it? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's muted himself now.
So we're talking about, leadership in terms of vision and goal, success, and so on, and leading your group as much as sharing the information that's necessary with the group, mentoring and developing and coaching, because those things all come out of the knowledge and confidence you have. Because in order for us to be confident, we need the confidence of those around us within the team. That's why Dave and Kirsten Samanshan in particular are such a good combination, because they bring different strengths to the party, and they've got great experience, and they talk with a passion that's not really duplicated very much, because they've been there and done that. Same with us to a certain extent. We've got a lot of experience in this business, and a lot of these things we've been doing for many, many years. And the last thing about leadership is you have to be capable of getting up and going again in bad times. No, let's rephrase that. In challenging times, because they're only bad if you think they are. They're challenging, but they're overcomable. I had a conversation with my son-in-law this morning on the way back from the airport. And 90 days ago, and I'll share this, I won't share the real detail, but they had a big cash problem. I mean, a really, really, really big cash problem, the likes of which most of us would have probably run away from. And in that 90 days, it's completely turned around. So he had a situation where he didn't know where he was going to find the money to pay for a lot of stuff that needed to be paid for, and to keep their heads above water, and make a transition to Dubai all at the same time. And he said to me this morning, well, we've had an amazing month and everything's turned around. And that's, I said to him, I have to take my hat off to you, Adam. I'd probably have run away from that, because it would have seemed insurmountable to me. So it's a question of perception about what you need in terms of resilience. Next one, self-motivation. This is a toughie for people who don't like working on their own, because networking it's a marathon, not a sprint, although we're sprinting this month. But the big picture says it's a marathon, and you have to have the daily disciplines, which is why that sheet we've covered is so important, because it allows you to be proactive, take charge of your time, evaluate your time much more effectively, because one of the biggest problems people have is procrastination and poor time management. I'll get around to it, and then it doesn't happen. So a day drifts by and it's gone, because you haven't followed the daily disciplines of what you need to do in order to get closer to the goal you've got. Your time management, as I said, prioritizing tasks and consistency. It needs to be consistent, because it's not one event that makes the difference. It's being on it every day, doing that bit every day. 15 presentations a week or a month or whatever it is. The 5 connections, the new connections. Why Sue and I at the end of last week talked about filling the pipe properly, because we haven't been doing it enough of it. And that's why we're now, we've taken the map, we've We've cast the map. We've looked for people that we know we can connect with, particularly Sue in terms of salons and clinics, because she's got a huge background and experience in that. She knows the pain points for those people. You know, she knows the frustration of a salon ownership. You know, the staff don't sell. They don't share the product with them in an effective way, which leads to a sale. And they don't book the next appointment, which is the repeat business where you get that from. So all those things take time to batter into staff in a way which makes it effective. And it's the same frustration for every salon owner in the country, because most therapists see their role as just doing whatever it is, whether it's nails, massage, hair, or whatever. And they don't think about the peripheral stuff, which is where you get your added value from, and indeed where the customer gets it from. So it's about consistency and maintaining that activity. Next one is creativity. Well, people are creative in different ways. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but it's essentially looking at what you've got, where you need to go, what your problems are, how you can strategize your way out of that, and using the team to help. Because while you are an independent partner, you're part of a much bigger team. And I think, again, I've got to praise Kirsten and Dave for what they're doing with the team, because it's giving access to information in a way which is simple, usable for anyone. It can be duplicated, and pretty much anyone can train it, but with help, with the upline, the help is already there, and the experience and the consistency is there to be able to help those people gain skills. And you use those in the business who've got the experiences. So, and the adaptability to be open to new things. And networking is great for that. I'll share some stuff with you guys in the near future about something we've been doing. So resilience and persistence. Well, yeah, persistence pays ultimately. It's one of the great strengths and one of the great weaknesses of every network, because people can pick it up and put it down, and people do. We know that from the way the statistics look within the organization, and the amount of genuine activity there is within a network is a reflection of what's delivered by that network activity, and the simplicity of the system that exists, and the willingness of the people to take part, because that's essentially what we are. We're a volunteer army. The next one is all about trustworthiness and integrity. And you very rapidly see networks go out of business when they don't have this. And that happens a lot. And unfortunately, many of them are left to chance in terms of their selection. And you see the whole industry is littered with businesses that have come in with a big bang and gone out with a whimper in a very short period of time. And your authenticity carries that of the organization. Now, one of the things I can say about Zinzino is it's through and through in relation to its embedded values within the organization. Trustworthiness and integrity. Sorry, I'm going to go back to it. Because for me, this is probably the core value that's the most important of all. Because without it, it fundamentally is flawed from the foundation up. And that's not what we have with Zinzino. It's very, very solid in terms of what it's aiming for, what it does, what it represents, and of course the product and everything else that it's producing. Next thing is business acumen. Understanding how the plan works, the commissions, the payouts, the buying of shares, and so on. You don't have to know this from day one. But as you move forward, as your partners begin to need to know this stuff, you need to know it. Now, you know I'm keen that everyone buys shares in the business. I'll tell you one of the reasons why, and that is it's a protection for the downside. Because if the majority of shares are owned by its partnership, which they are, it's never going to get taken over by anybody else, because there aren't the shares available for it to happen. So the more outside shareholders there are, the worse it is from my perspective. So, buy shares and they're worth it. Especially, I don't know whether you saw Dave's announcement, 24% growth in the third quarter of the year, 24% over last year. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And it's just going to harden the share price yet again. And of course, strategically thinking about your own business. Where are you going? We're going to president. We're going to president and beyond. But then we just get stars instead. But the point I'm driving at is have your big picture correct in your head as well. You know where you'd like to be in order to be able to give up everything else, the day job and what have you. That's one step along the way. Where do you want to end up with that step? And what does it look like? Because that's how your strategic thinking should be built. Everything else is built upon that strategic thinking long term. And the planning and the execution of those strategies is that scales your network effectively. And that's about duplication. The key metric for that is silver. I'll always say it's silver. Help people go silver. They get to silver either on customers or a combination of customers and partners, and there's a building block. That doesn't mean to say they're capable of going to anywhere else unless they decide to. And because ultimately that's what happens here. You've got to make the decision. And then the intention follows that decision. The intention to do the work to make it come about. And that's the essence of the traits of networking, of networkers. Last thing is money and planning, your passion and enthusiasm and energy. Those things are important to have as well, especially enthusiasm, because the more enthusiastic you are, the more willing you are to fail. Correction. The more willing you are to have the opposite of success. That doesn't mean it's a success in a different form. So that was what I wanted to cover in terms of traits. I know I've made it a quick fire presentation. Excuse me. Has anybody got anything they want to ask about before we hang up on the call, which is 3 minutes away from 11?
All quiet on the Western Front.
Okay, blimey. Are you refereeing, Paul? Oh no, you've got your keys in your mouth. I thought you had got a whistle in your mouth.
He's not refereeing.
Yeah.
Of it.
Is he doing this from a football pitch?
I don't know. He's out somewhere.
Ready to jump off now. There we go.
No, I'm at a sports centre. Yeah, and I'm working. But
Okay.
no, it's going well.
Good. Okay.
Cool. But
All right.
yeah, so it's just really make the most of today. If you've still got some short for your ECB qualification, then just check that. You can find that in reporting. Go to reporting and then the August ECBX, and it will show you whether you are qualified or not. It will show you how many points you need, etc. So I think Tom's qualified for sure. Paul has, Di has, Kelly has as well, and a number of other people in the team as well. So congratulations on doing that already. For those of you who are not quite there, just go out and get some more. Today's the day. We might have like a day or two. We might have till Monday to backdate if necessary, but if it's just over the mark, but it won't be any later than Monday. Take care. Have a great weekend, everyone, and lots of love. God bless. Bye-bye.